Welcome to another episode of the AA Sports Podcast. My name's Art, here with my brother Alex.
What's going on, guys? What's going on?
Alex, big week in the UFC. We have big pay-per-view coming up this weekend, Porier versus McGregor 2. We were going to do a preview on the UFC fight night that happened on Wednesday, but we just didn't feel there was enough content for a preview. So we're going to give you our take on what happened at a UFC fight night. Well, on the West Coast, it was UFC fight morning because the card started at 9 a.m. So we'll start with that, and then we'll talk about UFC 257, right?
Right.
All right, so let's start with Mike Chiesa taking on Neil Magny on Wednesday, January 20th. It was the UFC fight night from Abu Dhabi, the quote-unquote fight island. We saw Chiesa take a decision victory over Neil Magny. What'd you think of the fight?
You know what? I thought it was I thought it was more of a grappling match. Technical match. You know what? I thought Neil Magny could have, picked up the pace. I felt like Mike Chiesa, after the third round or so, he was gassed. It looked like he was trying to survive in there. But he was able to get a hand on Neil Magny, and once he was able to just grapple him, I think he found ways to kind of, put himself in positions to be able to breathe and relax. So I think that's what got it for him. Everybody was talking about Neil Magny's stamina, but it seemed like Neil Magny didn't have the stamina to try to go after Chiesa after Chiesa was hurt, or not hurt, but gassed out.
Tired, yeah. Before the fight, me and you made a little wager, and I felt like, which I ended up losing. My argument for Neil Magny was his activity. He fought 3 times last year. He fought 3 times, I believe, in 2019. He was on a 5-fight win streak. And Chiesa had only fought once last year, and once in 2019, and I believe once in 2018. So he was on a 3-fight win streak, but it's once a year.
Right.
But he looked really good. And you told me Chiesa's wrestling is very, very good.
Yeah.
Even though he was moving up in weight, you thought that Chiesa would be able to out-wrestle Neil Magny, and that's what he ended up doing. Were you surprised that Neil Magny kind of let himself get wrestled? Because it didn't seem like he was trying to keep it on the feet. It seemed like he was content with trying to wrestle with Chiesa.
It wasn't that. I felt like, well, yeah, I'm sure that Neil Magny was trying to avoid getting taken down, but at the same time, when that third round hit and Chiesa looked like he was gassed, I was actually afraid because I thought Neil Magny was going to come after him. But it seemed like Neil Magny just didn't have it in the tank, or didn't feel an urgency to go after him. And then a lot of the times when he was on the ground, it just seemed like Michael Chiesa was able to get to mount, able to get to half guard. It seemed like he was always 2 steps ahead of Neil Magny. So
yeah, he was able to do what he wanted on the ground. And like you said, 2 steps ahead. He was, anticipating what Magny was going to do, and he was already ready for his next step, while Magny was still thinking about his.
And maybe that tired out Neil Magny, having to take Michael Chiesa off of him, being in mount, being in half guard, trying to avoid getting taken down. And I told you, Michael Chiesa is a big guy. For 170, he looked big. He looked a lot bigger than Neil Magny.
Yeah, he did. But personally, I think Magny's game plan was off, and I'm sure I don't think that's how they wanted the fight to go. Yeah. I think Chiesa, welcomed that. When Chiesa was put in those clinching positions, he was able to gain control, get some knockdowns. Takedowns. Magny tried to take him down a few times, and Chiesa ended up landing in the better position. So, yeah. It was just an all-around great performance by Chiesa, taking advantage of some mistakes by Neil Magny. What do you think is next for Michael Chiesa?
You know what? I'm not sure. He did call out Colby Covington. I think he needs at least 2 fights at that weight to see how his stamina holds up in a 5-round fight, because if he fights a guy like Colby Covington right now, he'll get eaten alive.
Okay.
I mean, that's just the way I see it, because if you don't have a gas tank to hang with a guy like Colby Covington. Everybody hates Colby Covington because he goes for Donald Trump and all this stuff. But put that aside, he's a good fighter.
He is.
He's very well rounded. He has one of the best wrestling in all of UFC. Okay, and he can stand with the best of them, and he's got a great gas tank. So mix all that up. I think that's a bad matchup for Chiesa right now.
I agree.
Take another maybe 2 fights, see how your stamina is going. Maybe change something up, and stay active. Don't fight once a year. That's not good. What about you? What do you think?
I agree. I think he needs these type of fights though. Fights against guys that he'll be able to take down and work with. That he'll be able to beat because stand up. Chiesa didn't look too bad on his feet, but you could tell he was uncomfortable.
Yeah, you could tell.
Yeah, uncomfortable on his feet. So I mean,
well, he actually didn't really throw that many punches on his feet.
he threw. I think he threw enough to get Magny, to respect him and have to be a little cautious on his feet.
He couldn't just walk him down.
Exactly. So I think that was big for him. And that was a great win for Chiesa. To me, I think it's a great win. And, like you said, he needs a couple fights at 170, right?
Right.
A couple fights at 170 before he, gets to the top of that division. But I think he'll stay in the, 6-7 range as far as ranking goes, setting him up for, maybe a 5 or a 4. I don't have the rankings in front of me, but that's, like you said, he's still a ways away from the top of the division.
And who knows, Neil Magny can also come back. I mean, we've seen Neil Magny take some losses and then beat some up and coming guys. So,
dude,
I mean, say he switches up a little something in his camp. He has the tools to do it.
In my research, Neil Magny's been in the UFC since 2011.
2011.
I mean, I could be wrong, but from what I looked up, like that was the first UFC card that I saw him on his record. So I was, he's been around for a long time, going on 10 years. And, it seems like towards the latter part of the 10 years, these last couple years is when he's been the most successful.
Right.
Not saying he wasn't successful at the beginning, but he's been more successful recently.
Yeah, definitely.
I was about to ask you to move that cable because it's grinding on this metal. So
this?
Yeah, so you can hear it. All right. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But moving on. Did you have any other thoughts on the undercard? I mean, we didn't get to really watch any of the undercard fights. I know Roxanne Modafferi took a beating by Vivian Araujo. That was the one that I was impressed by.
Yeah, Roxanne Modafferi, I think she got a lot of hype after she beat Macy Barber, I think her name is. And yeah, she's been on the tough end of some decisions. She's a hell of a fighter, but I think as far as when she gets up there, it's gonna be hard for her to win fights. It's her. I just feel like these other girls in that division, they're no joke. So, she did beat Macy Barber, but as far as some of the girls in the top division, I don't know.
Little Nurmagomedov.
Yeah.
He had a successful UFC debut with a rear naked choke. So I'm sure that's somebody that we'll have eyes on moving forward. I guess should we move on to UFC 257?
Let's do it.
UFC 257, we got I almost said Dustin Porier taking on Connor McGregor in the rematch. I totally forgot to look up what year their first fight was. I know their first fight. I know what happened exactly.
You know what? I was actually looking at Dustin Poirier's record. So it may be able to just tell us what year it was. Oh, yeah, it will tell us what year it is, actually. Let's see. 2014. September 27, 2014.
So in 2014, Conor McGregor put a pretty, I'll say a clinic. I'll call it a clinic.
Yeah.
Put on a clinic against Dustin Poirier, stopping him in the second round. No, first round.
First round.
Yeah, he stopped him in the first round. 6-7 years later, these are two completely different guys.
Yeah.
Okay. McGregor was on his way to stardom during that time. Poirier was good, but he came up short in that fight, and he was still seemed like he was trying to find his footing.
Right.
McGregor becomes a superstar, gets all these big fights, makes all this money. Poirier's had to grind his way up to the top.
Right.
And he's had to work hard to get to the top of this fight's at 170?
No, it's at 155.
55, sorry. To get to the top of 155. I found the fight with Max Holloway to be a little disrespectful, where Max Holloway, the smaller guy, the champion, moving up to fight Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
Trying to take that division from Poirier, and Poirier, just smacked Holloway back down to 45. And Poirier's been on a roll. He had a great fight against damn it, who did he just fight?
Dan Hooker.
Dan Hooker. I was going to say somebody else, but Dan Hooker. They had an excellent fight. What do you see in this fight from Connor McGregor in this rematch? He hasn't fought in about a year. What do you think of this fight?
You know what? I think what we're going to see in this fight is how long can Dustin Poirier take those punches? How long can he take the power of Conor McGregor? People are saying he's going to get stopped within one round. Conor McGregor is saying he's going to stop him within 60 seconds. What we're going to see, I think, is Conor starting fast, because he always does. In all of his fights, that's something that I love about Conor McGregor. He's not one of those. Everybody knows that he's an accurate puncher. He's just an accurate striker, all in all. But he's not one of those guys that has to wait and counter. Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys that can put the pressure and create openings himself. Mm-hmm. So he knows how to cut the ring off, and he starts quick. Mm-hmm. So if he catches Poirier early, Poirier might be cold, and he can go out within 60 seconds. So who knows? That's how I think the fight's gonna play out. I do think Conor McGregor. I don't think this fight makes it out of the first round.
Oh, okay.
This is just me. I think I'm nothing to knock Poirier, but I think Poirier has been in some wars. He's been in, look at the war with Dan Hooker, Max Holloway. It was a war. It wasn't exactly where he was dominating the entire fight. War with Max Holloway, Dan Hooker, Justin Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez. And these have all been like 5-rounders, just back and forth. And these guys don't hit like Conor. Okay. Justin Gaethje is probably the guy that hits the hardest out of all of them. But that wasn't the Justin Gaethje that we've seen as of late. Like when he fought Tony Ferguson, when he fought Khabib, but Khabib just walked right through him. I don't know. I feel like that's what's going to happen. If Poirier is able to, what I want to see is if Poirier is able to withstand that storm. If he's able to get a hand on Conor, if he's able to take it to the ground, if he's able to walk Conor into a guillotine, anything where it goes to the ground, I think Poirier has a good chance at surviving and dragging it to the later rounds where he wants it. Because I think a lot of people also don't realize that Poirier can crack. He's not one of these guys that just, is just a good stand-up fighter all in all. I think he has some good power. So, I don't know. I think he's going to need to get some respect from Conor McGregor as well. Because if not, Conor's just going to walk him down. And that's something you don't want from Conor McGregor, because he's going to be able to be very accurate. And if you stand there right in front of him, it's going to be an early night for you.
So we've seen different types of Conor McGregors throughout these last couple of years. I think since after the Jose Aldo fight. From the Jose Aldo fight on, we've seen a couple different types of McGregor. We've seen the McGregor who will one punch knock you out. We've seen the McGregor who will put on a performance and, like you said, bring pressure and just, dominate. But we've also seen the McGregor who, against Nate Diaz the first time, wilted. Against Khabib, the fight against Khabib, he wilted under the pressure.
Right. Now,
Dana White says that there's there's this different type of McGregor, and this McGregor he sees now is that McGregor that'll give you a one punch knockout or that'll give you a one-sided beatdown.
Right.
Do you think those comments from Dana are accurate? There's different types of McGregors depending on his mentality?
I think so. I think that, you know what? It's tough to say with Conor McGregor because when you've made all that money, when you've gone to the top, to the pinnacle, where there's nowhere else for you to go. I mean, you draw. The UFC needed Conor McGregor. Let's be real here. The MMA was dying.
I agree.
Before Conor McGregor came and made it what it is.
Totally agree.
You know, I'm not saying that GSP guys like John Jones weren't doing okay. They were doing okay, but there was a lot of talk that MMA just wasn't getting the fan support that it should be getting. Mm-hmm. And Conor brought that.
I agree.
So I think maybe there was just so much pressure that he just, I don't know. I think the money got to him. Okay. He said it in an interview. He said, it's hard to wake up in silk pajamas and want to get up and train. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when you start from nothing and you're like, man, I don't even have warm pajamas. I'm wearing shorts and a tank top if you're, you know, able to even buy a tank top.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You know, I feel there's a focused Conor McGregor and a McGregor that just lets distractions get to him. That just lets, you know, lawsuits. People are trying to sue him now. And every time it's when he's about to fight.
Yeah.
When he fought Donald Cerrone, there was somebody trying to sue him. Now, just 2 days ago, there was somebody trying to sue Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it's ridiculous, but I think it does weigh on him. You know, just all the money, the fame, the distractions, the pressure of having to carry an entire Ireland nation.
Yeah.
Just give him the name. I think it's a lot of pressure, and I think that's probably what Dana's talking about. Just he was young when Ireland just put that pressure on him. You know, what was he, like 28 when he was at the pinnacle? I'm talking the very top.
Yep.
I mean, drawing numbers like nobody's ever seen, drawing highest pay-per-view ratings. He knocks out Jose Aldo, a guy who hadn't lost in 10 years.
Yeah.
A guy who hadn't lost in 10 years.
One punch.
One punch in 13 seconds.
Yeah.
One punch in 13 seconds. That's all it took for a guy that hasn't lost in 10 years. Mm-hmm. And what was he, like 28 at that time?
Dude, and it was at MGM Grand.
Yeah.
That MGM Grand was rocking for him.
Yeah.
You know, he had thousands and thousands of people at the MGM Grand from Ireland for him.
Yeah.
You know, so that, you know, I understand that. And, you know, my time in boxing, in the boxing gym, I've seen that happen to guys.
Right.
You know, I've seen that happen to where, you know, they make some money and, you know, sometimes you win a fight fairly easily and you're like, okay, well, I could do this again.
Right.
And little by little, it's like, okay, well, you can't do this all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I understand it was probably easy for you last time, but, you know, this next time, it might not be that easy.
Right.
But I've seen guys, you know, kind of succumb to the success, to the money, to the, you know, some guys, it's the pressure that gets to them of being a champion or, you know, McGregor. I've never worked with a guy who's the face of like boxing, but McGregor was the face of the UFC. So, you know, I can imagine that all that finally caught up to him.
Right.
But now that he's been off for more than a year, the pandemic, he hasn't really had to carry the UFC.
Right.
You know, so
I feel like it came at a good time to where a lot of talent is up and coming. You know, Khabib, Dustin Porier, Tony Ferguson, you know, John Jones is still around. Yep. The heavyweight division, DC, Stipe Miocic, all these guys came at a great time.
Dude, there's so many good cards. Almost, you know, like even during the pandemic, like there was like spurts of like a month or 2 months where every weekend there was a good card.
Yeah.
And there was good fights. And sure, okay, maybe it's not a Conor McGregor $2 million, $3 million, $2 million or $3 million pay-per-view buys.
Right.
But it's these solid cards where like the UFC is like, okay, well, sure, we still need McGregor, but we could take some pressure off of him by coming up with these great cards where we can make money and then sprinkle some McGregor on top or some McGregor, you know, here and there. Because this card, I'm not going to say it's a bad card, but you have to be a real MMA fan to enjoy the rest of this card, which we'll talk about after prediction. So are you with the McGregor in one prediction?
Yeah. I'm going to have to go with McGregor in 1.
Is there any chance that if the fight gets to the 5th round that McGregor is still in it?
Yeah, I definitely
and he could
do.
win. Because I think people forget, like, the Nate Diaz, the rematch, was a 5-round war, and McGregor, like, dropped him in the 5th round or something like that. So he struggled towards the end, but, I mean, McGregor was still in the fight.
Yeah,
he 4th and 5th rounds.
I think he made those adjustments to where he didn't blow his load in the first round. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. People have told me that, you know, they've messaged me and they told me, like, you know, what happens if it goes to the later rounds, 3, 4, 5? What if Connor gets tired? I said, not too many guys can take punches like Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is a different breed.
Yep.
Look at Nate Diaz.
Yeah, he is.
He fought George Masvidal at 170. George Masvidal hit him with an elbow. He you know, dropped down to try to dodge whatever else he was going to throw. He runs right into a head kick. I mean, flush in the face.
Yep.
That would have folded anybody else.
It took a referee stoppage for that.
Yeah. And
in New York, which we know the freaking New York commission
I mean,
doesn't like fights.
Let me tell you, you can throw everything but the kitchen sink at a guy like Nate Diaz and he won't go.
Yeah.
That's just who he is. And let me tell you, Dustin Porier is no Nate Diaz as far as taking punishment like that or taking, you know, being able to survive in that way.
I think
because Nate Diaz just has that.
I think we saw with Dan Hooker, and by no means am I comparing McGregor to Dan Hooker, but I'm saying Hooker put some type of pressure and some great punches together against Poirier, where Poirier had to survive. Yeah. So I think Poirier has that survival instinct. He's way more mature than the first time they fought. So, I mean, I wouldn't recommend going back and watching the first fight and saying like, okay, this is going to happen again. Because I don't think that's what's going to happen again. Now, McGregor can definitely stop Poirier. I don't think Poirier folds like he did in that first fight. In the first fight, he was just overmatched completely. And
I don't think it was just overmatched. I felt like he was pissed because McGregor was just so good on the mic. He was able to just... The way he was talking on the mic, he was able to just get into Poirier's head. I felt like Poirier was just pissed off and like, man, I need to knock this guy out. Because, you know, he's talking about my family. He's talking about this. He's talking about that. He's talking about that I got a glass chin and this and that. So he wants to prove him wrong. Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah. But that's why I think this is a dangerous fight for McGregor because, okay, let's say McGregor is locked in and focused. He's not looking at the first fight and saying that I could do this again. But if he's not locked in and focused, he's looking at that first fight like, oh, I'll just fold Poirier again.
Right.
Good luck. Because I don't think that's not the same Poirier that he's fighting in this fight. Yeah, so
and that's true.
I think this is going to go to the later rounds. I think this is going to be a long, drawn-out battle.
Really?
If I had to bet my money, I would bet on McGregor to win.
Right.
By stoppage. Like, let's say, like, 2 rounds is like the over-under. I would go over 2 rounds. I don't think it's going to end in the first round. But I could see McGregor, you know, stopping Poirier in like the 3rd or 4th round.
Okay.
I just don't see this Poirier being the same as the last time they fought.
Okay.
Where Poirier can... I think Poirier can have some success in this fight. But I'm rooting for Poirier. I'm a fan of Poirier. His grind to get to the top is just something that you have to admire as a fan. You know?
I definitely admire that. I think if you take a look at the press conference, were you able to watch it by chance?
No, I haven't.
I actually listened to it while I was working, and it seemed like these guys have respect for each other. It seemed like Connor was like, you know what, he's a dad now. He has a good fight foundation where he donates to charity, and it seems like they're more mature. You know, they want to exchange some of Poirier's sauce that he has, like some hot sauce, with Connor McGregor's proper 12.
Yeah.
So they want to exchange that. And it was good to see the respect.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, Dustin Poirier is a guy that nothing was handed to him.
No.
Let me tell you the resume on Dustin Poirier. He's fought the who's who.
Yeah.
He has fought the who's who. He fought Max Holloway twice. He fought Michael Johnson. He fought, Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, Dan Hooker, Khabib. He fought Cub Swanson. He actually pulled off some good upsets early in his career when he beat Josh Crispy, who Josh Crispy was a guy coming from another brand. I don't know.
Promotion.
Another promotion. And he was able to stop that hype train.
Yep.
So
before it even started.
Yeah. So listen, Dustin Poirier is a guy that grinds it out. And that's something that you got to admire, regardless of how this fight goes. You know, I feel like the grind to the top, the grind to where it's easy for somebody to get knocked down and just not want to fight anymore. Look at the ups and downs he's been at in his career.
Yeah.
You know, I remember he went to 155 and he was doing okay. And then, you know, he fought Michael Johnson and got knocked out and went like 2 rounds or something like that. And, you know, Michael Johnson's a heavy hitter. He might not be the best skilled guy out there, like well-rounded, but, you know, he can crack. So to be able to fight a guy like Michael Johnson, get knocked out, but then be able to just rise back to the top. And then look at where Michael Johnson is. He's beneath Poirier right now. Mm-hmm. So even if he got knocked out, it doesn't matter because he's able to prove everybody wrong by still fighting and taking the top fights at 155. So I tip my hat off to a guy like Dustin Poirier.
So let's talk about the rest of the card. There's a really interesting fight, and we talked about one of these guys a little bit earlier as the co-main event. Lightweights. We have Dan Hooker,
right,
who we talked about had a war against Poirier last year, taking on Michael Chandler. Mm-hmm. Now, for you UFC fans, but not really, you know, outside of the UFC MMA fans, Michael Chandler was the Bellator champion for, I don't know, a long time.
Yeah.
Probably Bellator's probably their best lightweight.
Yeah.
This is his first fight in the UFC. So he's not ranked, obviously, first fight. And he's taking on number 4, Dan Hooker, I believe.
Right.
So, I mean, this fight right here is really intriguing to me. What do you think about Dan Hooker taking on Michael Chandler and Michael Chandler's UFC debut?
I think it's a good matchup. You know what? Dan Hooker's been at the top for a while. You know, a lot of people thought he was going to beat Dustin Poirier. I thought he was going to beat Dustin Poirier. But I felt like he just needed a little bit extra. I felt like he had Dustin Poirier hurt in that third or fourth round. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but he just wasn't able to put him away. And he let Dustin Poirier get back into that fight. And he looked tired in that fight. So that could be a little bit of an Achilles heel for Dan Hooker, because Michael Chandler is one of those guys. If people look on his Instagram, listen, this guy does workouts that are unhuman. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a reason why this dude's jacked.
Yeah.
Like, he does squats with a weight vest and a tree trunk on his freaking back, and doing all kinds of weird stuff. So whatever you do, go check out Michael Chandler on Instagram. You'll see what I'm talking about. All in all, I think this is a good fight. We're going to see if Michael Chandler can hang with one of the top guys of the UFC. And there's a big size difference. Dan Hooker's 6 foot. Michael Chandler's what, 5'6", 5'7" on a good day?
On a good day.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this, you know, Dan Hooker said that his style is more, you know, built around avoiding wrestlers. Kind of, you know, just keeping the fight on the feet where he wants it. I think we have a good chance of seeing an upset. I'm going Michael Chandler wins this fight.
That's an upset to you?
Well, yeah, because Dan Hooker's the favorite.
The betting favorite. Dan Hooker is the betting favorite, but I would definitely throw money on Michael Chandler.
I would have thrown money on Michael Chiesa had I known that Neil Magny was the favorite.
Yeah, that's definitely a big time fight. A great co-main event. Is there any other fights on the card you want to talk about? I mean, Jessica I's fighting Joanne Calderwood. Matt Frivola's taking on Otman Azaitar. Marina Rodriguez taking on Amanda Ribas. Amanda Ribas just beat... Who did she beat? She just beat somebody.
You know what? She beat Paige Van Zandt.
That's right.
So Amanda Ribas is coming up quick. She's really making a name for herself in that strawweight division. I don't know, what did she fight at, 125 or 115 still?
125.
Yeah, right, because she fought Paige Van Zandt at 125. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, she just looked really good in that fight. So I really hope that Amanda Ribas is able to get some of those top fights in the 125 pound division.
Okay.
What about you? Any undercards that you're looking forward to seeing? Any questions that may need to be answered?
Jessica I, was she the one that was knocked out by Valentina Shevchenko? I think this is her
brutally.
I think this is her first fight since, right?
No, she's fought
second fight.
She fought after.
I think it's her second fight since.
And it was a nasty knockout, man. If you guys want to go and check it out on YouTube, type in Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica I, and you will see a classic head kick knockout.
Yeah, and that was set up by a body kick.
You can hear the snap on that one. I was, Jesus. It was nasty.
Well, thank you guys for watching this episode of the AA Sports Podcast. We'll see you guys next week to go over the results. We also have another video up going over some Showtime boxing this week. And we will have our AFC and NFC championship previews coming up this weekend also.
Sounds good.
We'll have a lot of content for you on YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe, drop a like, all that good stuff. And thank you guys for watching this episode of the AA Sports Podcast. And we'll talk to you guys next time.
Peace out, guys.